good day, and how the hell are you, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the MAGA Fight. I am Mike, and unfortunately for you viewers, you're stuck with just my ugly mug today. Now, in the last week, we have more than doubled the podcast applications that were available on, so just for today, I will give a updated list. And we are now available on nearly all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, iHeart, TuneIn Alexa, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM, Podcast Index, and now, finally, iTunes. So, there, once and for all, now we really are available literally everywhere that podcasts are available. And don't forget, we're also available in video form on Rumble and YouTube as well. So check us out there. I want to give a special hello to our brand new listeners and viewers. We're a brand new podcast, so every week we have brand new listeners and viewers. And, we continue to slowly but steadily climb. And I just look forward to all that comes with building this community as we go forward. I am currently working on a website for the show and all that good stuff. Until that time, you can always reach me on social media at mrogers87 on both Parler and Clout Hub. Feel free to send me a private message or a DM. And, of course, for the Rumble and YouTube viewers, leave a comment. It's one of the best things you can do for the algorithm. Interact with this show, and we'd love to hear from you. So let's jump into it now. This last week was it. There was some big hitting stories this past week, and some of them flew under the radars, and some of them they've repeated every day like they always do. But one of the things that came out this week, for anybody that listened to last week's episode or watched last week's episode, I teased a little tidbit of information that it looked like Republicans were sending out some polls and questionnaires and essentially asking about Trump rallies and where people would like to see them, where people thought that they should be held. And based on that, we teased that we may be getting some Trump rallies coming back soon. And now, last week, they have confirmed it. In fact, Trump rallies are coming back, and they're coming back soon. So we have a New York Post article here. Just going to read a brief section of it. It's titled, "Trump to Restart Rallies Next Month as He Plays Coy About a 2024 Run." Former President Donald Trump will resume holding his signature rallies next month, the Post has confirmed. Dates and locations have not yet been announced, but a source said the president's team is in the process of selecting venues for a pair of events in June. A third rally is expected to take place around the July 4th holiday. And then after that, they, of course, and this upsets me, even coming from the New York Post. Now, in the next part of this article, they have to go on and start talking about how he hasn't talked since January 6th because some of his supporters rioted and blah, blah, blah. And what really upset me is the fact that even the New York Post continues this lie about the riot causing 5 deaths. There was not 5 deaths directly from the riot. There was only one death. That was Ashley Babbitt. None of the other deaths happened at the riot. They were suicides or overdoses or, I think there's an investigation still ongoing on the 5th death. I forget. But they didn't happen at the riot, during the riot, or from the riot. And I got to tell you, these Trump rallies starting back up, I think, are exactly what we need on our side. I think it's exactly the kind of energy that we need to get back in that saddle, get back up on that horse, and get back at it again, because quite frankly, look, it's no secret, okay? We got our asses kicked in 2020. They beat us. They flat out beat us. I mean, you can say whatever you want, use any excuses you want to, but what's that? They stole it. Exactly. Look at the lovely Katie joining in, even though she's not on camera. She is here today. She's just not on camera. And absolutely, they stole it. And everything else that they did, it wasn't just the election. The election was kind of the cherry on top. But I mean, we lost crucial battle after crucial battle. And, a lot of that started with the new implementation of mail in ballots and all the other stuff that they started before the election. I mean, we tried, but had you gone there before, the courts would have said you don't have standing because you haven't actually been affected by it yet. And then after court, when they went to try, after the election, when they went to try to fight it in court, now they said, well, you don't have any standing because it's too late. You waited too long. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And we all remember we've been through there. But for you new listeners and viewers, I mean, this is really the purpose of this podcast. This is why I started this podcast. One, to be formative. Two, hopefully to be at least somewhat entertaining. But three, and one of the larger reasons, is to be an organizing platform, to be a place where a community can come together, where we can build a community, where we can help organize and get people out and go to like the DC rallies or protest or to even just go do fun stuff like go cover a Trump rally and all that good stuff. Now, of course, that will be a little limited right now to start with. I am just a regular paycheck to paycheck person. And, I started this podcast, I think about 6 months ago or so now. I started it on my PlayStation 4 with Zach. Some of you were watching back then. Some of you remember. But I started it on a PlayStation with Zach at the time. And over the months since then, I've slowly invested in, my audio equipment and then cameras and, a decent laptop and all the things that it takes to put together an actual podcast. And so we're slowly and steadily growing over time, and as we do, the more we grow, the more we'll be able to do, and that is exactly why I wanted to start a podcast and what I wanted to do with this platform eventually. And speaking of conservatives in the Republican Party, one of the stories last week was Liz Cheney being voted out of her leadership position by the GOP. Music to my ears. Good riddance. Now, of course, she's still there. She was just removed from her leadership position. Of course, political parties can't just kick out members or anything like that. They can, revoke positions from them and things like that. But only the voters can remove her from Congress, and that's exactly what I hope we do. I think that we will. It's one rhino down, but we still have a lot to go. There's her and Mitt Romney and Justin Amash and all these rhino Republicans that look. They're not even conservatives. They're not even Republicans. That's why we call them rhinos, Republican in name only. Like, take Liz Cheney, for example. As soon as she was voted down from her leadership position, she couldn't wait to run out to the microphones, to run out to the cameras, and to start bashing Trump and talking, of course, about how bad Trump was and how much she was going to make sure that he never stepped foot in the Oval Office again. In fact, she said, quote, "I will do everything in my power to make sure he never gets anywhere near the Oval Office again." Well, I hate to tell you, Liz, but everything in your power ain't very much because I mean, it wasn't even within your power to save your own jobs. So I don't know how much you're going to be able to affect what Trump does or doesn't do. And here's the thing, it is still very much Trump's party. It will remain Trump's party because he said what he meant what he said, and he did it. Promises made, promises kept, which is more than we can say for just about any of you politicians in the House or Senate. So, and it's more than we can say for our justices in the Supreme Court. It's more than we can say for all of you, except for President Donald Trump, who, again, meant what he said what he meant, promises made, promises kept. That's why he has the following and the support that he does, and that's why you can't do a damn thing about it, Liz. So I look forward to seeing her primaried in her next election cycle. I look forward to a lot of them. And the thing that the GOP can do, they can't outright kick members out, but they can certainly not support them in their next election. And, maybe some dealings with fundraising and all that too. So I just hope that we continue this cleaning out of the Republican Party. We need to finish remaking it as we were in the process of. We need to get these rhinos out of here because, and look, they're really just liberals. All right, that's all they are. If you listen to Liz, if you listen to Mitt, if you listen to these people talk, all they do is say the exact same thing that the Democrats say, except for maybe one or two issues here or there where they disagree with them. So then what? Then they think that makes them a Republican? No, I don't think so. Or, God forbid, these old school, fiscal conservatives. Oh, I'm fiscally conservative, but I'm socially liberal. Get the fuck out of here. Look, conservative is conservative. Either you believe in freedom and liberty, either you believe in the Constitution, or you don't. And every time you guys talk, all you do is say the exact same things that the Democrats say. So really, you're just Democrats that occasionally disagree with the Democrat narrative. So hand back in your car, leave the party, go back over, join the Democrats. That's where you belong. And I just, the last thing I'll say on this topic is I just really hope that they get primaried in their next election cycle. I really hope that we, the people, continue to make our voices heard on the right, and that we send each and every one of these rhinos home and elect better candidates, MAGA candidates in their place that will continue the agenda. And make no mistake, this is a fight, and we need to stay in it. I mean, when it comes to the culture war, all too often we have a habit on the right of conceding the narrative and playing defense. The leftists call us racists, bigots, Nazis, etc. And we actually debate them on these facts. They start calling us racist. They start calling us Nazis and all this and all that. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I think everybody is equal. I think that you judge people based on their character and based on this. Why are you debating them? Why are you conceding the narrative? Don't. And what blows my mind, instead of defending yourself, call them out on this. Next time they call you a Nazi, you call us Nazis, yet you don't say one goddamn word about actual genocide and actual human rights abuses going on in China. In fact, it's the exact opposite. They're all China sycophants. They support China at every turn. I mean, look, LeBron likes to act tough and send out his tweets with pictures of police officers titled "You're Next," but he drops to his fucking knees for China. That's the default position of the entire left. Shit on America while fluffing and servicing Chinese communists. Because at the end of the day, liberals only care so long as they don't actually have to do anything and so long as it doesn't affect their bottom line. It's one big mass of ignorant socialite wannabes who use ignorant and feel-good slogans to better their own social standing. The right needs to stop defending and start attacking. A very good example of this is there's a conservative podcast that I like to listen to. It's got a pair of brothers on there. And in one of their episodes over the past week, they were talking about some new speaking gigs that they had upcoming and a change in that schedule because one of their speaking gigs in the Midwest had been canceled because of LGBT complaining and making a fuss, so the venue canceled their speakership arrangement. And then they come on in the episode and they're talking about how they don't have a problem with LGBT. They don't care what people do. You know, my body, my choice. Nobody cares what you do. They don't care if you want to be a guy, if you want to be a girl. And, you know, where they have a problem with it is in the trying to tell us all what we got to do with our kids and puberty blockers and all that good stuff. And that's fine. But they went on and on and on about how they don't have a problem with LGBT. And here's the thing. Although you may not have a problem with them, they have a big goddamn problem with you and with me and with all of us. The left hates us. They hate us with every fiber of their being. They want you canceled. They want you penniless. They even want you dead. And if you don't believe me, just look at all the assaults and murders and everything else that's going on in the riots. And, they talk about putting us on lists and this and that. They want you ruined. They don't want you to be able to make a living. They don't want you to be here. Look, they really believe the things that they say about you. They really believe that you are that evil, evil person. Because, they're not working with a whole lot upstairs. And that's what's been fed to them from the Democrat narrative. That's what's being fed to them on the media. And it's exactly what they believe. Anybody that doesn't see that by now, I think just simply isn't paying attention. But they continually attack us, and we simply try to survive the attack and prove that we aren't what they claim. Meanwhile, they're destroying our country. They're burning down America's founded in pursuit of some communist utopia that they think they can achieve. And we're over here trying to prove we aren't homophobic racists. This isn't a debate. It's a culture war. And in many ways, a cold civil war. We need to stop defending and start fighting. The best way to do that right now is to stop defending yourself. When it comes to that kind of stuff, of course, always defend yourself. Own weapons, carry weapons, get the necessary permits, do what you got to do, protect yourself, protect your family, but stop defending yourself against these pointless, blind insults. When they talk gun regulation, buy more guns. Simply refuse to abandon America's founded and refuse to play their game. See, and this is a problem that has happened a lot on the right. You would think that in a normal world, the farther the left went left, the farther right the right would go right. But that's not what's happened. In fact, over the last 20 years, the left has gone way, way, way left, about as far left as you can go, and the right has gone just a little bit left. So we're all moving left. And the way that happens is exactly what I was just talking about. By conceding the narrative, by defending against their points, by always playing defense. Slowly over time, we're getting dragged to the left with them because they're going way, way left, and we're ending up just a little bit more left. So, all too often, you'll hear, I can't tell you how many times, even among so-called conservatives, you start having a debate with them, and then they're like, well, yeah, but, or maybe, but. No, there are no buts. It's this right here. This is the line in the sand. That's it. You can't beat them at their own game. So this thing where conservatives try to show what caring people they are by disagreeing with the people who are trying to prove how caring they are. I mean, this is just going in circles and we're not going anywhere. You are the kind of person that you are. Most people, I believe, almost by default, are good natured people. I think most people don't like to see other people harmed. Most people don't like to see other people hurt. Most people want to see everybody do well, and especially those around you. So I think that we can all stop trying to argue about what good people we are and just get down to principle, because really that's what matters is, do you live by your principle? And if you do, then you don't have to shout that out to the entire world because they're just going to see it through your actions and through what you do. Let your actions speak for you instead of trying to act almost like the liberals do and be out in the town square shouting about how much you care about people and how much your rivals don't care about people. Just live your life according to you, and your actions will show what kind of person you are. But don't feed into their games. Don't play their games. Look, this is where we are. This is what we have to do. Let's start taking the country back towards the right. Let's stop letting them drag us left with them, and let's start dragging them to the right. Or, if anything, let's just go right and leave them to do what they want. Because, look, the way I see it, this culture war is going to end in one of three ways. One, a national divorce, which personally I'm beginning to think isn't that bad of an idea and may be the better of possible outcomes. Number two, a civil war. I think we can all agree that that's not where we want to go. I think we can all agree that that would be worst case scenario if that actually came to fruition. Number three, if we continue as we are now, we will find ourselves living in an authoritarian, communist America that is no longer the world's top superpower. America, as founded, will cease to exist, and free thinkers and lovers of liberty will forever be the resistance. So, we're going to become just like every other authoritarian country out there. We're going to be just like Russia. We're going to be just like China. We're going to, look like Venezuela or any of these other places. See, here's the thing. There is no other place like America when it comes to the belief in individual freedoms and liberties. And so if we let America fall, then there's nowhere else for us to go. That is why everybody wants to come here. That's why immigration is something that we constantly have to address, because it's always going to be a big issue for us because everybody wants to be here. Everybody wants to come live in America. Unfortunately, the entire world's population can't live in America. That's never going to be possible. And, so immigration is always going to be a top issue. And look, the last thing that I want to do in this segment is come across as preachy or lecturing or anything like that. I am in the same boat as everybody else. I am just as guilty as everybody else when it comes to, whatever the case may be, whatever our shortcomings were and are, the things that I'm talking about that we have to fix are things that I also have to fix and do better on. And it's just one of those times where I feel it's something that has to be said, and I'll say it, and then I'll leave it at that. Colonial Pipeline. Sure, everybody's heard of this by now. Everybody saw the videos of the long gas lines that were happening down south and all of that. And so we'll just cover this briefly. We won't spend a ton of time on it. But for anybody that maybe doesn't know, Colonial Pipeline, they're a pipeline that serves the east coast of America, a large portion of the east coast of America. And they were shut down by ransomware hackers that call themselves Dark Side, apparently. So they were shut down by these hackers of ransomware, which for anybody that doesn't understand ransomware is essentially just hackers taking over your system, locking you out of it, and then holding that system as hostage and demanding a ransom. And you pay the ransom, and then they give you access to your network back, in theory. Now, paying them doesn't always mean that they give you access back, but and not only that, but you can never be sure that they didn't leave themselves a nice back door in the process and all that good stuff. But it's reported that Colonial paid a $5 million ransom to these dark side hackers in Bitcoin. This sends a message to every hacker and would-be opportunist that you can attack America's infrastructure with impunity. It furthers the already obvious fact that America is weak, vulnerable, easy prey. In a better world, these hackers would have a surprise visit in the middle of the night, is all I'm going to say on this topic. I mean, a nation has a couple basic responsibilities. 1, protect its citizens. 2, protect its infrastructure. And really, that's about it. I mean, those are the top 2. So if you can't defend your infrastructure from outside attacks, then every would-be opportunist is going to take advantage of that fact. So, what happens when they decide that they want to shut down part of an electrical grid or anything that they might want to do? What's to say they won't do that? What's to say now we won't just start seeing all different kinds of utilities starting to be hacked and held as ransom? Being that this was infrastructure, the best thing that they could have done is, like I said, maybe paid them a visit in the middle of the night. And maybe just let it be clear and known to anybody that was thinking about doing the same that it's not going to work out for you. Speaking of countries defending themselves and their citizens, Israel and Hamas. It began, as always, with Palestinian militants firing rockets and continued with more strikes being fired back and forth, Israel massing for a possible ground invasion, and even Muslim-Jewish clashes in the streets. They are now on the verge of all-out war. And, who knows, by the time that this episode releases Monday morning, they may already be at war. I hope that they hit them so goddamn hard. I am so sick and tired of hearing the wails and cries from Palestinians and all the American Democrats about how, the Palestinians were displaced and they were there first, and wrong answer. It was Israel long before it was ever Palestine. It belonged to the Jews long before there were ever such thing as Palestinians. Anybody that pays attention to history or loves history, such as myself, knows that there was kind of a casting to the wind of the Jewish people by the Roman Empire. And then after they were cast out, Rome renamed it Palestine as a FU to the Jews. And, they've been without a homeland ever since as a people. And as most people do know, it wasn't until after World War I that land was given back to them. See, the Palestinians, Hamas, all the Muslims in the region, there are lots of other places they can go. They can go anywhere. There is nowhere else for Jewish people to go. There are no other Jewish countries or anything like that. That is it. That is all they have as far as a country, a land of their own. And you know, in the past, we've seen Israel kick ass time and time again. Look, they are not a country that you want to mess with. They will hit you, and they will hit you hard, and they're not afraid to do it. And I just think that Israel should stop toying around with Hamas and all that. Just do it. Run in there, run them over, and wipe them off the face of the earth, really. Because, I mean, hey, it sounds mean and cruel, but this is just going to keep going on and on forever. And, you know, if they're going to threaten and harm and, you know, attempt to kill the Jewish people living in Israel, then better them than the people of Israel. That's what I say. So, getting into our leftovers for the day, Dr. Fauci and the NIH, National Health Institute, linked to funding of gain of function research at the legendary Wuhan lab. According to Dr. G. Zingali, more commonly known as the Bat Doctor, NIAID, which is Fauci's group within the NIH, was the source of the funding. Dr. Fauci was asked about this by Rand Paul and blatantly lied about it. Everybody anywhere near this research is now running to cover their own ass. So for anybody that didn't see this, it was put out by this Dr. Zingali, or however you pronounce her name. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. That Fauci and Fauci's group within the NIH, the NIAID, was the source of funding. And Rand Paul asked Dr. Fauci about this, and Fauci blatantly denied it. And, Rand Paul brought up the fact that, there was more than clear documentation that they were funding it. And no matter what, Fauci just denied. And we're going to see this going forward, where anybody that was associated with this gain of function research and anybody that was even remotely involved in this, they're gonna start doing whatever they have to do to cover their own ass, whether that's putting the blame on other people, whatever the case may be. But they're circling the wagons and they're looking to protect themselves because the damages that have been done, look, most of it was by our own government and in the way they reacted to COVID-19. But another thing from this past week, inflation is starting to hit. Many of you may have noticed that prices are starting to skyrocket, gas being one of them. Katie, I see you over there nodding your head. How was grocery shopping last week?
So crazy. Oh my God. Like meat is another thing that's gone up. Meat, gas,
Meat, meat's
everything.
gone up.
Yep.
Oh boy.
And tobacco products.
Yeah, I remember you getting home from grocery shopping last week talking about how much more the grocery bill was this week. How much more some of the items cost and all that. Mm-mm-mm. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with now and going forward. And look, the funny thing about this is, back in February, March last year when we were beginning to lock down, when they were beginning to talk about, well, I think actually, let's say April, May, when they were starting to talk about, stimulus and giving out some checks and some help, blah, blah, blah. At the time, I was going around the place that I worked, and, I was telling people like, look, I know it's hard to say no to $1,200 that, quote unquote free $1,200, but it's not going to be free. It's going to cause inflation. That's what happens when you print money. That's what happens when you do this. There will be inflation down the road, and you're going to more than pay for that quote unquote free stimulus money you got. And, you just instantly saw their eyes glaze over. They immediately checked out. They didn't understand what you were saying. They didn't care what you were saying. It doesn't matter. All they know is cha-ching. I'm getting free government money. Well, that time has now come. Here's the inflation, and it's only going to get worse as we go forward. Things are going to get more and more expensive. The dollar is going to be worth less and less. And they're still talking about $1 trillion spending plans. I mean, so by the time this all catches up with us, who knows? I mean, a loaf of bread may be $5, $6, $7 by the time we get done with this. And in our last story for today, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is continuing to ruffle feathers in Congress, and I love it. So this past week, Marjorie Taylor Greene attempted to confront AOC at the Capitol building. She reportedly called after her and asked why she supports Antifa and terrorists. I guess AOC didn't engage. She just got away from her, probably ran to whatever hiding spot she had, during the Capitol riot. I think that's her new safe place whenever somebody says words to her. And then later on, AOC's office released a statement saying that they hope this sergeant at arms will make Congress a safe place. So there it is. It's all that PTSD. AOC, just being the warrior that she is, out on the front lines, fighting for her constituents. Unfortunately, it's dangerous out there with conservatives like Marjorie Taylor Greene asking her questions, and so she needs to go hide and plead with the sergeant at arms to please make Congress a safe place. And then aside from that, Rep. Cori Bush also came out and announced she was moving her office away from Greene's because she lashed out at her. And then, of course, so AOC's going off into her hiding place, her safe place. We got Rep. Cori Bush, who has to move her office somewhere else to get away from Greene's office. And, oh my God, these people are just terrified of Marjorie Taylor Greene. It sounds to me like she's doing the Lord's work. And I hope she keeps it up. And then since then, there was another story about supposedly one of her aides saying something to, I want to say it was Swalwell. I want to say it was Eric Swalwell. One of her aides told Swalwell that he just simply said to him, "Yeah, you can take your mask off." They came out with the new guidelines that fully vaccinated people could take their masks off, blah, blah, blah. So I guess this aide of Marjorie Taylor's told Swalwell he could take his mask off, and I guess Swalwell got in his face and said, "You don't tell me what to fucking do," and all this and all that. And then after that, then he goes to the papers and he says something along the lines of, her staffer was being a bully. So I told that bully that he can't bully me. That has quickly become one of the left's favorite words is bully. Every time somebody so much as says something to them, not even in a mean way, you just simply say something to them or disagree with them. "Well, you're being a bully. You're bullying me. We don't like bullies. We don't deal with bullies. We. Blah, 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 blah. So, anyway, there you have it, folks. That is the episode for this week. It's a little shorter than normal. No article reads or any of that stuff that we usually do. Um, Again, I just want to thank each and every one of you that listen and watched this podcast. I greatly appreciate it, really sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. If you're enjoying the show, the best thing you can do is try to share it and get it out there. Share it with your like-minded friends and family, anybody that you think will like it. That's the best thing we can do for the viewers on Rumble and YouTube. Take a second, interact, leave a like, leave a comment. Um, Again, it's just greatly appreciated. And that's all we have for this week. And I will talk to you all again next week. Thanks, everybody. See ya.